Hello, everyone. Today we are joined by Cristina, the founder of Her Financial Freedom, a platform helping women gain confidence and independence through financial education. And after over a decade in wealth management, working with high net worth clients, Christina saw a massive gap in financial literacy, especially for women. And she launched Her Financial Freedom to simplify investing, empower women to take control of their finances and close the gender wealth gap, let's say. So today we will dive into her journey, her challenges of making finance more accessible, and how she turned her expertise into a thriving business. So thank you, Christina, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you, first of all.
Thank you so much, ladies, for hosting and creating this podcast. It's incredible.
We're very excited.
We are very happy to have you. Thank you for your availability. We would like to start, of course, from the very beginning. So we are really curious to understand how you came up with this idea. So tell us about your story, like what were you doing and at what point you were in life and how this idea came to your mind and what did you do to, let's say, to realize it, right? What did you do to start it, if you had some other people helping you?
Yeah, with pleasure, with pleasure. Thanks for asking. So maybe I start with my mom, right? Because my mom, or actually both of my parents, influenced me a lot already. So my mom told me already since I was a child, since I was a teenager, Christina, you will not be dependent on a man, right? And she really put an emphasis on that. She has chosen the very traditional way of family life, giving up her career for us 3 children. I have 2 younger brothers, and I think she just wanted me to have all the opportunities. I must say it was a conscious choice for her, right? So she made that conscious decision to give up her career. And imagine that for already that time back then, she was so advanced. She said to my father, I give up my career if you pay me a salary for all the usually unpaid labor that I do at home. Raising the kids.
Actually, good idea.
Right? Raising the kids, doing the household work, being there for the family and supporting
you
also in your
job,
career.
Right?
It is. And usually it is unpaid.
Exactly. We are like all the women are doing it for free, right? And then, those kids, they come up like this, and they are successful and making money and nobody to thank.
Yeah, exactly. And especially talking about wealth gaps, right? This is already where it starts. It's not only the salary that you're missing as a woman for the much labor, you're working literally 24/7 as a mom, right? But also think about your long-term finances. What is happening to your pension?
Sure.
So we have a lot of these cases where women come to us and they're, a bit more matured in their life. And then they always say, oh, I should have started earlier. I should have thought about this more early. I should have protected myself. But this as a side story. So my mom influenced me to be independent and just, fulfill my dreams and go about it. And then my dad, he was a banker. So when I was already 3 years old, I took his suitcase, remember back then you had these men's suitcase of leather for work.
Yeah.
And I took it and I said, I want to be a banker. And I go work in German. It's a cute form of working. I go arbeiten. As a child, you cannot speak properly, right?
Yeah.
So I already aimed for being a banker, working internationally since I was super young.
You had very clear ideas since the beginning. Wow. How old were you at that age, at the time?
My parents always tell me it started already when I was super young, that I wanted to aim for my dad. They say girls have this special bond with their fathers, right? So maybe this was it. But this is just to show cute. It's super cute, but it also shows how deeply ingrained this strive or drive to go into finance, into banking was. And this is how I then started during university already, doing internships abroad, working in a bank. Obviously, during my studies first, I'm an economist actually by studies. And then I started my career in Zurich, where the center of the wealth management industry in the world, maybe, or one of the centers where wealthy people. And there are more, right? There's Hong Kong, there's London, there's New York, there's Singapore, obviously. But yeah, it was a great start of my career. I I think. And what happened is I then started in wealth management, and I had the privilege of really working for very wealthy individuals and families. We call them, in a finance language, as you ladies know, high net worth individuals, maybe even ultra high net worth individuals, strategizing the wealth that they have maintained and built over generations. How do we structure it? How do they manage it? How do portfolio managers manage it? And then, so I was working with these millionaires in Europe, and then I had an amazing opportunity. The bank said, "Hey, Christina, do you want to have the opportunity to work not with millionaires in Europe, but with billionaires in Hong Kong?" And what would you have done? Would you have taken the chance?
Yeah, definitely.
Of
It was
course.
like a step up and upgrade for you, right?
It was an amazing opportunity. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
picture this, right? You have Hong Kong, maybe you've seen pictures of the skyline. You have these huge, huge skyscrapers. I was sitting then in the 50th floor of the International Finance Center with a view over the harbor. And it was an amazing time there. And I learned so much about wealth creation. Yeah. Maybe also a question to you, but like, you know also a bit the wealth management and finance industry in Europe, but what could you imagine would a difference be from the wealth in, let's say, North Asia versus in Europe? If you think about it, what do you think, what do you expect to be different?
For example, what I would expect, first of all, is that probably in Europe, the people are really like to show their wealth, right? So they drive the expensive cars, they have expensive houses, they probably have like, expensive clothes and stuff like this. And what I imagine comparing to like North Asian countries or in general Asian countries, that you would never ever be able to identify a millionaire or a billionaire in that country. So this is my perception.
Very interesting. And you see, this is how we all see it different. I think maybe we have to differentiate between Hong Kong and China. From Hong Kong, I saw it exactly the opposite way. So, for example, in Zurich, in Switzerland, I feel people are very modest. Like if they buy fancy or expensive stuff, it should not be with a label. It should be high quality, but not really be visible. Maybe in wealth management, we also differentiate a bit between newer created wealth versus old created wealth. So the old created wealth is, over generations and generations, like you try to maintain that wealth and really try to find wealth strategies. And those people tend to be not so like showing off their wealth as you mentioned. And then in Asia, I had exactly the opposite perception, right? Like walking into IFC every morning, International Finance Center, and the ladies were just like from a fashion show, right? With diamonds on their hands and jewelry and like the designer bags and clothes. Like it was an amazing environment. And the wealth is just much more massive. We always said it has a few zeros more, but also newer, just created. We were talking
Yeah.
sometimes with the first or second generation. And I think this was the biggest difference. So yeah, the expectations of what a banker maybe does or what they are for is different. I think in Europe, yeah, they already approach the banker with very specific questions often because they know what to expect from a conversation. And then in Asia, it was more like, or in North Asia, we're creating family offices and really creating wealth structures to accompany this wealth creation and that the money is maintained also. So I had insights
Yeah.
into, yeah.
No, I'm curious, what's the difference in terms of financial education in Europe versus Asia? Were they more willing to invest, were they more educated, first of all, and they were more like risk adverse or not compared to European people?
I love your question. And I think there's probably not possible to answer as a whole, like Europe and Asia, but maybe we need to differentiate between, for example, Switzerland or Germany or other countries. I'm sure you can tell from Italy, it's probably more close to Germany. So in Germany, the ratio of investors is super low, especially amongst women as well, right? So the participation in the stock market is very low. And I'm trying to work on that to change that. In Switzerland, it's a bit higher, but still rather low. But I would say maybe not the financial specific education is better, but in general, they have a very high level of education and a standard of education. And also, for example, the newspapers, it's very close to the economy, I always say, right? Like the national newspaper, it's called NZZ, New Zurich Magazine. is very related to the economy and to politics. And I mean, you have a direct democracy as well. So people have to be informed. Otherwise, during the next vote, they cannot really make decisions, yes or no, to what wants to be decided, right? To which decisions they need to make. And then in Asia, let's focus maybe on Hong Kong. It depends a lot on which school they went to. In general, in every country, financial education is not a given. This is something we fight for, right? Like these finfluencers like I am, people who really want to create change, we fight for this, that it might be part of the curriculum, that the awareness is raised earlier in their lives, but it's not very high. Talking about the risk aversity, like you said, yes. In Asia, maybe this is also because imagine in Switzerland and Germany, we have a pension system, right? We expect the government to ensure that we can later live the life that we want because we worked hard. We worked during many years of our lives.
Yeah.
In Asia, that's not so much a given, especially in North Asia, right? So people know if I don't take care of myself, the government won't do it. So that's why they rely maybe also sometimes on the next generation to support them financially, but they know they need to trade. And you literally see people with their phone at the cashier in the supermarket, like trading. It's quite interesting. Huh? And they have higher return expectations.
That makes sense, because if I'm thinking about like how the ultra high net individual are in Europe, like they probably come from generations of wealth, like to establish industries, and like as you said, like kind of like a more ancient generation, while the Chinese one is rather like I can imagine it's more like self-made individual that actually has been investing and like growing over the last, I would say, I don't know, not even 10 years, when the shift economic expansion became like really, really big. But that means that a younger wealth individual, it can be more keen to invest and rely or like even take more risk in his investment because he's more educated. That's how I perceive it, but I don't know if it's a thing or not. But that's why, like, the perception that I have of younger wealth population in China. So it's an interesting difference with European ones.
Yes, I think the need of protection is not so strong. It's rather the need for performance, right? Or the want to have a higher performance. Yes.
You noticed already being there that there was this huge financial gap between men and women, or like you realized it later on when you were back, and at which point exactly you said,
Yes.
hey, I'm noticing there is a huge gap and I really would like to do something about it?
Yeah, it definitely all started while I was working in my skyscraper with the bank. I also took the free time to support 2 charities, right? And I love those charities. They're incredible. They're doing incredible work still. One is called Girls Just Wanna Have Funds. And it's really about all of that, right? Bringing financial knowledge and a safe space also to a community where women can exchange to women, right? Normal women like us who are working, who are having their own money and who want to get better and improve their finances. And the other one was called Inspiring Girls. And it was about bringing confidence and role models to younger girls, maybe in their teenager times. So it gave me so much joy to see that I thought about what can I do, right? What can I do in my circle of influence? And by the time, let's say I was beginning of 30s, right? 30, 31, 2. My girlfriends, they were other expats. So they had their career, they had some money, and they said, hey, Cristina, you know about finance. Can you not explain me what I should do with the savings that I have now after having worked a few years? And I hosted a lot of like brunches, afterworks, female gatherings. I love to do that. Yeah. And they said, can you not do it during one of these gatherings? We just talk about finance. I said, yeah, we can do that, but it's a bit hard to explain you my 14 years of education and knowledge working in it over a glass of champagne. So I had to come up with something, right? And they pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And one day I said, really, okay, now for the next 4, whatever it was, Wednesdays, we're going to meet 3 hours at my place after work. And I'm going to build you a curriculum. And this is how it all started, literally over a glass of Prosecco in my couch in Hong Kong. And the first cohort of Her Financial Freedom actually started. And it was super exciting. And there was so much demand that other friends then asked for it. So I created a second group, and then COVID hit. after I don't know how many groups COVID hit. And imagine, I mean, you ladies, you know that it's so much content. It can be very dry. Imagine the same topic, instead of sitting on the couch together, exchanging and learning, having this call on Zoom after a tired day at work, you will not be able to follow this knowledge transfer, right? It's a lot of knowledge only. So I said, okay, we have to do something about that. I hired a learning and development specialist, and we literally built a transformational course, not only a knowledge exchange, but like, how can I transform women to gain confidence with their finances, talk about finances, obviously also invest, but really, share their learnings with other women and transform in the sense of, I can do that, I will do it.
Sure. Not just to like explore this point a little bit more. So at this point, you basically identified a kind of a gap in the market, and you were passionate about finance. So you wanted to actually teach your closest friends or someone that you're like the little crew, right? But at which point did you decide that switch your career path, change your career path, and move from like a pretty established and well-known bank, which is UBS, to kind of like your own business, right? And create her financial freedom.
Obviously, this was a process over years. It doesn't come overnight, especially if you're an employee, right? You're very trained to think in certain, I don't want to say boxes, that sounds so negative, but in certain structures.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't come overnight, and I'm not from an entrepreneurial family, right? My dad is not an entrepreneur. I didn't have also such an entrepreneurial environment, except besides these like charities and also the Hong Kong environment, where I saw entrepreneurial women doing stuff, shaping things they believe in, running VC funds, being managing directors, being C-level, right? Really, in Hong Kong, there's like a lot of spirit of can do, will do, and like, you can also approach people very easily. You help me, I help you. How can we support each other? How can we grow together, right? And I think that was a slow process from learning these gaps in terms of my female environment, right? Mm-hmm. Working in the charities, there you learn the statistics and the studies and everything, right? And then basically marrying the two passions that I have of bringing women together, which I anyway did internationally also, and the finance specialist that I was, and just adding value into society. And I told you already my origins through my mom. Like I had it in me, this like strive for independence. And I'm like, this cannot be that other women don't have these opportunities or don't ensure that their money is working hard for them. We have to change that.
What you're doing is really fantastic, Cristina, and I feel like we really need more and more women to get involved into it and understand more about finance. And I also feel that women doing this inspire other women to do the same. Like if a man comes to me and say, I don't want to be racist or something, but I feel like because men know so much more, sometimes we feel maybe, I don't know as much as he does, and maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not going to understand what he's going to say. But when I see another woman like me, probably in the same career or same age or doing similar stuff to me, I feel more confident, right? I say, hey, if she knows how to do it and she can explain me stuff, why not? I would rather go to listen to her because maybe she would explain this in, using even like easier words, because in finance we have so many abbreviations and so many indexes. Sometimes we're so lost, especially for people who are starting from scratch. But I wanted to understand. So the idea was great, and how it was born. Everything is really amazing. I would like to understand more about her financial freedom. How do you identify this? Is it a project? Is it a startup? Is it a company? And also, like, what are like the vision of it, and what are the final goal, right? So if you can dream big, where do you see yourself, for example, with her financial freedom? Do you see, like, I don't know, top first company in Switzerland or in Europe or in the entire world? What is your view?
Let's say the whole mission, not only of her financial freedom, but literally my whole being, right? My life's mission and purpose is to be just a tiny part of closing the gender wealth gaps, right? I'm not sure if you have some statistics in front of you or in your mind, like of how bad the wealth gaps are. Like usually if I do workshops or if I have groups or I host also women circles, I share them, and women, although they kind of are in this world and they experience it in their careers, etc., they are not aware of it, right? Like just to name a few statistics, we still have a pay gap that is massive, right? Like I think the European average is around 20% for the same work. Then we have a lifetime earning income of almost a lifetime income gap, of almost 50%. For example, in Switzerland, also Germany, we have pension gaps. Imagine this, gender pension gaps. In Switzerland, almost 40%. In Germany, almost 50%. In Japan, also 50%. In Japan, by the way, the salary gap, so for the same work, is almost 70 to 80%. So the gaps are massive, right? In every country, like there's no country that reached gender parity. So if women earn less, imagine the wealth gaps, literally visualize it, right? So we start at the same point. Then we earn less, we invest less, then we start having career gaps, right? So we reduce maybe because of family unpaid care work. So this leads at the end of our career or non-career to huge wealth gaps. And plus, we also outlive men often. We're talking about generic statistics, right? So we would actually have the need to invest even more and even risky to outpace these wealth gaps, but we don't. So that's why my mission is to create awareness. I'm not saying a woman should have a career or, not have a family. I'm not saying that at all. I want to create conscious decision making with women. And if a woman, like my mom, for example, decide, hey, I want to stay with the children, it's an absolute valid wish, right? And life plan. But please discuss the finances behind it. Ensure that you, in any scenario that will happen in the future, are set up so you can live life how you want it. I don't like to see that women are shocked usually when something happens, right? They come to me. Divorce, death, inheritance, maybe a situation they want to get out of, or pension comes closer, right? And then often they say, oh, I should have started to invest earlier. So why can we not catch women and raise awareness when they are young, when they still have a lot of time for wealth creation, make the right decisions to set up their life in a way that in any outcome they will be fine, right? In the end, for me, it's about creating awareness and giving them solutions for having all the opportunities they want.
I feel like the problem especially in Europe, because I think I think it's much different compared to US, for example, right? Is we have a gap into the education system, first of all, to start with, because we are not used to, for example, my parents, like I'm Italian, right? So, but I think it's a good example for a lot of families, right? They're not used to invest. So not having an environment where you have someone that actually teaches you the importance, first of all, as you said, the importance and the impact that investing has on your finances and your pension in your whole life, right? And not having the opportunity of studying those things at school properly, let's say. Because yes, I learned about like OTC derivatives and so on at school, but no one taught me how to invest properly. So it's kind of different. It's you have an idea of the theory, but not how to put it into practice. So that's the first gap. But what do you think is the most common misconception about wealth and that you wish more women understood? Let's say.
We know, and there are studies, right? It's not my opinion that I'm portraying. I'm trying to portray and convey facts and behavioral, like how we are educated, how we're socialized. So we know that boys and girls are socialized different when it comes to behaviors, when it comes to how they see money. Exactly. You said it, Vlada. Because you asked me both now about also education and school system, etc. Yes, that would be great, right? If we had it in school. Still, that doesn't take this whole level away of how girls and boys are socialized in terms of risky opportunity behavior, safety behavior. So Girls see money as safety. Meaning, what does it mean? If you think about your belief system, you need to keep it, you need to protect it. If it's in the account, it's safe. I don't touch it, I cannot lose it. Which is actually so not true, because you will lose it definitely to inflation, right? How boys see money, and we're talking here about super generic stereotypes, right? Like,
Yeah.
just as a general society. Boys see it as an opportunity. So I'm always making this example. If a boy climbs on a tree, what do we tell the boy? Wow, you're so brave. And, these shirts for boys, they have like hero and action figures, like they can do things and they can shape things and they have opportunities. For girls, also in the language, if you read some magazines, etc., it's always passive. Passive meaning kind of like victimized of girls are not good in math. That is a status you cannot change. If you would say to a girl, like often we say that to the boys, it all stems from the behavioral psychologies in the 60s and 70s. This was founded, right? So they went into schools and they analyzed, how do we talk to boys and how do we talk to girls? And for example, to the boys, they would then say, yeah, you have a bad grade, but next time you just have to pay more attention and practice harder. What does this signify? I can get out of it if I change my behavior. So I have the opportunity, right? It's like actionism. If I tell a girl, you're just not good in math, what do I do with it? I'm just bad in math. Like it's limiting my opportunities, right? I cannot get out of it. And this is in so many things in daily life, how we talk to girls. Like also, if you look at the shirts of girls, it's always like, be nice, be kind, nice girl, pretty girl. It's always about the appearance, It's never about doing and shaping and taking risks. So this continues then later on. If we see, for example, there's a new trading app also in Switzerland, and they checked how much percentage is of their clients female and male, and they had something like 80-20. I can't recall the exact number now. They said, we want to change that, right? So they did a lot of advertisements for women, webinars, blah, blah, and they increased it at least to a user percentage of 30 female. Oh, lost my earphone though. So, because the education, like you said, is available to everyone the same. I can go on YouTube, I can watch tutorials, I can then try to place a trade, I can then make errors and lose some money. Will young women do that? Will any woman do that? Likelihood is way lower. But young men tend to do it. They watch the YouTube tutorials, they place trades, they lose money, but they don't talk about it. Then they make some money and they talk about it. And they exchange with others. What did you invest in? You invested in this. Oh, bro, I made some money with crypto. It's like a whole different conversation about opportunities than the women have, right? We are great in talking about what we spend and how we look and what we do to look better. But how often do you talk about money and investing with your girlfriends?
No, it's true. I mean, I talked about those things with Vlada only, basically. The more
Nice.
we have a bigger group, but to your point, exactly, it's not a common conversation. When do you think is the right moment to start investing? Of course, the earlier, the better. And let's say, I mean, because at the end of the day, you need to rely on time and the timing that you are putting your money into the market. But when do you think it's an appropriate time at considering a person of start working, for example, at 23, 25 years old, let's say?
Yeah. It's to summarize it, and it's so cliche, it's literally the earlier the better. Like I make an example. I'm visiting now, like the last weekend, my brother, he lives in Germany, and I saw for the first time my niece. She was born 4 weeks ago. So my present, instead of, I buy some smaller presents, but like my present will be every birthday, every event that she has in life, that to make an ETF savings plan, investment savings plan for her. So we always feed it with some money. My other brother joins as well. My parents will join as well. And like this, she starts with 0 years to invest, right? And then, like you said, the power of time is the most important part of investing. It doesn't really matter when you start. It just matters that you start. And I hear this question so much, right? Oh, I'm not rich enough yet to invest. And it would be the same as if I said, I'm actually waiting until my six-pack grows in order to go to the gym.
Yeah, doesn't make
Literally
any
start when you're a teenager and you have 10 euros pocket money, 20 euros pocket money. invest in an, for example, ETF savings plan, right? Or when you have your first job, $50 or $25, whatever it might be. With new technology, we democratize the accessibility of investing so much. Everyone can do it. You can literally do it on your smartphone, right? It's so convenient.
Yeah, and
Nowadays, people have really like a misconcept of investing because they really think that to start investing they need like 10,000 or 50,000 or even 5,000, right? And so many people they they just don't have it, right? Or they say they don't have it, or because they just save this money for emergencies and stuff like that. So, and also I feel like a lot of people, it's not that they are not investing, it's just they are investing, for example, in real estate. So many people buy real estate, right? In Italy or in general in Europe, I feel this is the safest way, right? They don't even calculate the percentage that they are earning on it. They just say, okay, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to rent it out, and then maybe they're getting 4%, and I don't know, the BlackRock fund would give you 6, right? And they don't even realize that.
because the house is there, you can see it, you can touch it, so it's tangible. The investment is untangible. That's the main misconception, I think, in Europe and yeah, in Italy, it's more and more.
Yeah.
Regarding Christina, regarding the accessibility, I agree with you. Like now, it's so much easier than in the past compared to the past because you can invest literally everywhere. You have like I have just N26 as a bank, and they actually, I think last year they created this like the investment platform, right? So now you can do it right there, like in your bank. But what would you suggest? Like, how would you suggest to start for a person that has never done it before? That, as Vlada said, has just like a little bit of savings that they want to put apart. Like, what's your biggest advice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously, we're not giving any advice, right? It's just a sharing of experience that we're doing here. Let's look at the different scenarios of where you could stand today, right? So people can identify with it. So either you have usually like 3 personas. In our case, or in my case, it's women. So it's a woman who has not invested yet and who is like also a bit timid of starting. Then you have some women that have, dipped their toes in the water and they don't really like have a structured approach to it, but they wanted to try it, but they don't really remember why they did it. They don't have a holistic wealth strategy. So if you are the person who has not started yet and there is a huge hurdle to take to get started, just start small, right? You mentioned, I think, Vlada, it was you. You mentioned an emergency fund. Perfect. That's the first step to start. Build your emergency fund, right? We're always talking around 3 to 4 or 6 months, depending if you're employed or self-employed, of fixed costs that you should cover. Perfect. Emergency fund, put it on a high yield savings account, right? And keep it there. Then maybe you can take, it depends on how much money you can invest each month, but start small, start really small, 50, 100, 150 per month. Start investing maybe in an exchange traded fund savings plan. There is like an automated regular monthly contribution that you can do in a very high diversified basket of, depending on your age, maybe of equities or bonds. So it's basically like a cake, right? You have different ingredients in a cake. And instead of buying all the ingredients of the cake, you just buy a slice of that cake. That is what a fund is. So we buy a slice of that cake every month with a small amount. And this is how we gain confidence, right? This is how, because I feel like the finance world, and you might know that from your girlfriends and friends, the finance world is such a black box. We do not manage yet enough to create transparency and make it easy and simple. So what we want to do is break it down in super actionable steps. Okay, open a brokerage account, invest $50 a month. Okay, let's go. Let's try this. And after having done this for a few months, you see that the women gain confidence. And then as a third step, you can then later on create a holistic wealth strategy. I work with a lot of expats like you are. We have worked in 1 country, 2 countries, 3 countries. We have maybe a pension everywhere or nowhere. We have ethics questions. We might have real estate. We might have real estate that we live in or that we sublet. So all these kind of considerations I need to create a holistic wealth strategy. What do I do with my broker in Italy and the one in Germany and the one in Switzerland, the one in Hong Kong? Do I keep it or not? How is the money invested? Do I keep it there or not? Do I want to be involved also with the management of those assets or not? All these considerations I usually discuss with my clients, because maybe they think I want to have a brokerage account and I want to trade. And then they realize, oh my God, every month it gives me so much anxiety. I should do something, but I can't make a decision. Okay, then let's give up the wealth management to someone, to a professional. So it's also on me to explain which professionals are out there in the market to support them and what is a fair price for them. What questions can they ask them? Because they feel always like they cannot talk eye to eye to those professionals. And I want to make them feel so confident that they can ask questions, really challenge them, maybe negotiate the price, find the right strategy for them, even if they give up the management of their assets.
Even like knowing the basics, what are the fees, the upfront fees, advisory fees, exit fees, like there are so many things that people, they just don't know, right? And sometimes they're scared to ask because they say maybe I'm gonna result as a person who knows nothing, so maybe the risk is that they're gonna trick me, and so it's better to to put my money elsewhere or just keep them under the pillow, right? Like many people are doing. Uh, would you see the nowadays world transforming and actually introducing the financial basics, let's say, into schools? Because this is what I feel like is missing, right? Because if you start from school, like when you're 15 and 16 or something, you start getting like little money, right? Like maybe 10, 20, 50. And so instead of spending all 50, if you spend only 45 and you still, you teach yourself how to save money. And then that 5 become 10 and 10 become 100, 1000 and so on, right? And so you arrive to maybe 25 when you start investing with 10K. I don't know. What is your view? Do you feel like, because it became so easy nowadays, like Erika was mentioning earlier, I also use Revolut. You can also do it on Revolut. It's literally just one click. You just need to know what exactly you have to buy, right? Because there are so many products out there and so many opportunities that you really need to be a little bit aware of what you're doing, where you're going. I don't know, would you expect like one day the schools to be teaching this, or universities, or how do you see the future generations investing?
Yeah, I want to answer in two parts. One is also, Erika, you asked when is the perfect time to invest before, right? Maybe that's not the right question to ask. Maybe it's the right question, what is key to do when thinking about investing? Because key to do is do it, like act on it, right? Because the tendency that we women have is we want to know more. We want to be kind of an expert in order to talk to other experts. Like you said, Flada, right? We always feel stupid to ask a question. I have really kick-ass women, right? Rocking their career, their lives, their relationships, their own companies, and they introduce themselves before asking a question. This might be a stupid question. Oh, I'm sorry that I have this question. It might be wrong. Like, instead of just asking the question, and high likelihood, it's not a stupid question. First of all, start. How do we start? Creating a space where we talk about it. Literally, at the next lunch appointment, the next coffee we have, hey, what was the last investment you did? Or you also lived in 3 countries. How do you do it with your pension? Or your pension, for example, in Switzerland, we have a pillar system. Your pension, pillar 3. How do you invest it? Same in Hong Kong. Every country has these like pillars for their pension. Did you invest it? Because most women also think they wire the money there and this is an investment. No, you need to decide on an investment strategy. So let's talk about it. And this is already acting. I think we underestimate a bit the effect this has on creating this confidence, talking about finances, because step by step, you will then become an investor, right? And you will feel more acquainted with the topic. So talking about education, I think, I don't want to say this is the education. Of course, it would help tremendously if we had this in our curriculum, right? And like you said, it's not actually also a topic of girls, and it's also a topic very interesting and relevant for boys. Like, we should have the same level of knowledge and more access to it. we are lobbying at every possibility, every conference. We're lobbying for this topic, right? We have free workshops. We do so much in our capacity to push a bit that it will be part of the curriculum and that more people are aware that we need more education. But I think it's not done with education. Flada, Erika, which access to which information don't we have?
Everything. Yeah.
Everything. So why do we have the gaps of women versus men? We have the same access of information.
It's a mindset change that has to happen. Like we need to just switch our mindset and literally it's more than educational, it's more like a matter of behavior and what do we perceive as a worthy investment.
Yes. Oh my God, I love how you just phrased, what do we perceive as investment? Do you think that women are great in investing in themselves?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
They are.
In which forms do they invest in themselves?
Education, like if they have to invest in, as I said, like in real estate, that they will be more willing doing that. I don't know, investing their time properly between family and work, like in their job as well. It's more like the financial investment is not there most of the time because we don't believe that it's worth it. Otherwise, we will do that.
We're
Right?
not really interested, right?
Yeah.
And why? Maybe because we're also not identifying with it. If you grow up your whole life, finance, something for men. Like you said, Flada, right? You said in the beginning, men know more about it. There are studies that don't show this. The educational level is similar, but the confidence level, it's like you said, Erika, right? We are quite open to work on ourselves, improve ourselves. Maybe we take leadership training, negotiation training. We are in communities where we just want to learn. I also feel like we are willing to improve ourselves.
True.
But as you both said, this is not a priority because I think, that's my opinion, women do not identify so much with it. So I try to find a way, how can we identify with it? How can we make finances emotional? How can we ensure that if you hear budgeting and finance, you don't think like, oh my God, but you think, oh, that's so cool. It allows me to live the life that I want. It's rather an empowering tool. And I have the ways how to do it. It's just women need to be open-minded to say, yes, for a while now, for a few weeks, I will prioritize this topic for me to benefit from it for my whole future.
Yeah, and I love that. I really love, Christina, that you're creating a practical financial training with a very safe and supportive environment tailored for women, where actually, as you said, there are no questions, there are no stupid questions, so that it's also like reassuring for women, right, to start their own journey with investing, and also that can make like this decisions that actually resonate with their experiences. So I love that. And Christina, we would like to know, as we discussed, you're actually trying to change the mindset of the population that you are teaching to. So it's kind of like very challenging. It can be very overwhelming. So our last question at every episode is like, what gives you momentum? So what actually makes you feel very motivated every single day and energetic every single day in order to face this challenge, let's say.
I can give you the best example that happened on Saturday. So we had International Women's Day, right? As you know, 8th of March, very important day for us. And we opened our cohort. So the March cohort started with amazing women that, like you said, found a community of other motivated women who want to prioritize this. So imagine the vibe between those. They're working now for 2 months through their limiting beliefs, through budgeting, through the financial markets, through finding a portfolio that matches their investor profile. And they will share a lot of their really deep, belief system. So they are super closely together. And I asked them, on this International Women's Day, what are you doing to celebrate yourself? And they said, this course as an investment in myself. And this made me so proud. And honestly, like if you see, I'm so happy about that because I work a lot with social media and you put stuff out, but you don't get immediate response often. So you do a lot and you fight a lot and you get also, I'm not sure if we're here limited with the words, but you get a lot of shit, from men. They don't understand why we do this. Why are you working only for women and these feminists and blah, blah, blah. So it feels sometimes a bit exhausting. And to hear then feedback of women who are prioritizing it, who are working on it, and to see what transformation they go through, literally it changes their whole outlook on life. Like, I'm making a few examples. One of the participants, she did the course, I think, at least 12 months back. She's mid-50s. In her first time of her whole career, she asked for a salary increase. How cool is that?
It's amazing.
One husband of a woman that participated called me and gave me a thank you that they can now discuss the family finances and the family planning together. It brought their relationship on a completely different level. And I can give you countless examples now of, how they sleep better, they just feel more confident for their future. But this is what motivates me, the feedback.
The impact you're having on their life. It's really cool.
Yes. Not only on their lives, on their families' lives, on their kids' lives,
Mm-hmm.
or we often discuss also with women, they are receiving the inheritance now, right? There's the biggest wealth transfer in history now from the boomers to the next generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's discuss this. Be prepared. How are you handling it? How much do you receive versus your siblings? How will you manage that portfolio, right? All these kind of questions. You need someone guiding you a bit in the safe space to discuss it. And Vlada, you said you asked the question of, what's my big vision? Impact, right? I want to have impact. How can we reach more women?
You're doing a great job, Cristina. So all my compliments to you. And you also, you transmit a lot of security, because when I speak to you, I feel like you know your job, you know how to do it, you know how to teach it, and you also very, like open person and a person who knows how to listen. So I feel like, apart from really like financial technical skills, there are so many other aspects in the job, especially when you are approaching something that you're kind of scared of because you don't know it, not because you really have fear of it, but because we're always like scared of something that we don't really know. So also motivational side, and this conversation is so inspiring. Thank you so much. I hope that so many women will start invest after listening to this episode, and they will understand that this is nothing so complicated. It's just you just need to start, right? You start and then you see how it goes, and you learn by doing. So they scare us a lot, telling us you can lose all your money, right?
Yeah.
So of course we don't want to lose the money that we are working hardly to earn, right? But at the same time, if we never risk it, we will never know how it can go. So
and you
thank
also
you
don't
so
need.
much.
Yeah, thank you, ladies, for giving space also to this discussion and talking also finance with your girlfriends, right? We don't need to go from 0 to 100, right? You start small. You don't
Small
need
group,
to be afraid and now tomorrow you invest. No, follow some influencers, listen to some podcasts, read about it, talk about it. I think this is also what gives the women, the participants, and me also the biggest confidence. Talk about it, exchange, because you will realize everyone has the same questions, right?
It's very true. It's really true. A really enlightening episode, Cristina. Thank you so much for being our guest today. And for our listeners, please, 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 if you are interested in those topics, if you're a woman, if you're interested in this topic, reach out to us, reach out to Cristina. We will love to talk about it as well. So thank you so much, and looking forward to see your progresses in the future as well.
That is so nice. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I can only say, join the community of already thousands of women, the Her Financial Freedom community. We share a lot of free tips also to ease you into the topic, and we can't wait to welcome you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
ladies. Bye.